They said it was a textbook case. A perfect arrest, open and shut. Looking back now, I realize that's what made it so dangerous. I was 32, a homicide detective, working for a mid-sized city in Colorado. At the time, I thought I was invincible. Clean track record, fast promotions, a reputation for closing cases quickly and cleanly. I'd never once had a case go sideways. Never once questioned myself. And then came the Dempsey case. 2 victims, Sarah Dempsey and her fiancé, Jared Hill, both in their late 20s, found dead in their home, a quiet little ranch-style house just outside of Denver. They were supposed to have dinner with Sarah's parents that night, but they never showed up. Her mom called the cops when Sarah didn't answer the phone. When officers forced their way in, they found the couple in the living room. Both stabbed multiple times. Sarah was found face down on the carpet. Jared was slumped on the couch like he hadn't even moved. There was no sign of forced entry. No broken windows. No kicked-in doors. The TV was still on. Nothing had been stolen. It was brutal, but it wasn't a robbery. It was personal. And then there was the writing on the wall. Literally. In thick red ink just above Sarah's body, someone had written a single word on the wall. Elliot. Underlined twice. We didn't have to look far. Elliot Miller was Sarah's ex-boyfriend. They dated for almost 5 years before she broke it off. According to Sarah's friends, he didn't take it well. He'd showed up to her work a few times, sent her long obsessive texts, left weird voicemails that she never responded to. Her new fiancé, Jared, even filed a restraining order at one point, but Sarah never followed up. The guy had motive, history, and now apparently a signature. We picked him up the next morning. Elliot was a thin, quiet guy. Mid-30s, lived alone in a one-bedroom apartment, worked part-time as a delivery driver. When we knocked on his door, he answered without hesitation. Didn't try to run, didn't even act surprised. We brought him in. Read him his rights. Sat him down in interrogation room B. He didn't say much. He just kept saying, I didn't do anything. I pressed him, told him about the scene, the bodies, the writing on the wall. He blinked. He looked down at the table. I haven't seen Sarah in months, he whispered, but the evidence said otherwise. We found his fingerprints on the front door of Sarah's house. Fresh ones, as in made sometime within the last 24 hours. His shoe prints matched the ones left in blood at the scene. Even worse, in his car we found a red marker and same brand and color, as the one used to write his name on the wall. It was in his glove box, still uncapped, like he'd tossed it in there in a hurry. I remember the moment I laid all that out on the table in front of him. He just sat there, no protest, no anger, just this blank look on his face. It was like watching someone sink under the surface of the water. He didn't say anything else after that. I left the room. Talked to my captain. We agreed to charge him. The arrest made the local papers. Jealous ex kills couple in cold blood. My name was mentioned in the article, quoted even. Something about the importance of swift justice, protecting the community, that kind of thing. I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel good. Validation, recognition. Even my dad, who never really talked about my job, called me that night and said, "Proud of you, son." I went to bed thinking I'd done something good, something right, but somewhere deep in the back of my mind, something didn't sit right. The crime scene was too clean. No defensive wounds on Jared, no struggle, no panic. Sarah was found mid-step, like she didn't even realize someone was behind her. The only thing that stood out, the only thing that felt truly angry, was the name on the wall. And it was just too obvious. I mean, who writes their own name on a murder scene? It felt like a message, or worse, a setup, but I ignored it. Because the evidence fit, and I was tired, and everyone around me said I'd nailed it. So I convinced myself that gut feeling was just nerves, the natural tension that comes with big cases. 3 weeks later, Elliot pled guilty. His public defender said it was the best outcome. No trial, life in prison without parole. The families got closure. The media moved on. And I got promoted to senior detective. Everyone won, or so I thought. Exactly 1 year later, on the morning of my birthday, I found an envelope in my mailbox. No return address, just my name, handwritten. The kind of envelope you'd get from your grandma or your neighbor down the street I opened it in my kitchen, still half asleep, coffee in hand. Inside was a plain white birthday card. No decoration, no glitter, no happy birthday message. Just 3 words, written in sharp black ink. Wrong guy, Kyle. At first I laughed. Honestly, I thought it was a joke. One of the guys at the station messing with me. Maybe even my partner, Ross. He was known for pulling pranks. But the handwriting, it didn't look familiar. It was too neat, too precise, like someone had practiced it. There was no smudging, no indentation from pressure, just clean, even lines. My stomach started to twist. I turned the envelope over, looked for any postmark, any stamp, anything. There wasn't one. It hadn't been mailed. It had been hand-delivered, which meant someone had been at my house. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the card in my drawer, locked it, told myself again and again it was just a prank, a sick joke. But deep down, something had been planted in my head, a seed of doubt, and it was starting to grow. For weeks, I kept telling myself it was just a prank, a sick joke from someone at the station, maybe even a family member who thought it'd be funny, but it didn't feel like a joke. Not the handwriting, not the fact that it wasn't mailed, not the way it sat in my mailbox, alone, silent, waiting for me. I showed it to no one. I didn't want the guys at work thinking I was paranoid, and I definitely didn't want internal affairs breathing down my neck, asking why a high-profile detective was receiving anonymous messages. So I locked the card in my desk drawer and did what I always do when things don't make sense. I buried it. Buried it with reports, paperwork, meetings, noise. And for a while it worked. A whole year passed. Quiet. Elliot was still rotting in prison, still maintaining his innocence in every appeal request, still claiming he was framed. No one believed him. I didn't either, not out loud anyway. But inside something had shifted. I stopped taking new cases. I started triple-checking my work. I stopped sleeping as soundly. And then it happened again. Exactly 1 year later, same date, my birthday, same envelope, same handwritten address, no return stamp, no postage. This time I opened it in my car, hands shaking a little. Inside was another plain card, white, empty. Just 6 words this time. Elliot doesn't even like red ink. That was it. My heart stopped. It was such a stupid detail, the red ink. The marker we found in his glove box. That had been the piece that sealed the case for me. It matched the writing on the wall. I remembered holding that marker up in front of Elliot in the interrogation room, waiting for him to react. He didn't, but he also didn't deny it was his. No one ever said he hated red ink. It wasn't in the files, not in any interview or report. The public didn't know. Only someone close would have known that. I stared at that line for a long time. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to throw it out the window, pretend I never saw it. But a bigger part, the part I'd been ignoring for almost 2 years now, knew I couldn't. That night, I pulled Elliot's case files from storage. I stayed at the office until 3 a.m. just reading, reviewing, trying to see the case the way I would now, not how I saw it back then. And as I read through it all again, it hit me. We'd never actually placed Elliot inside the house. His fingerprints were on the doorknob, but not inside. His shoe prints were in the yard, but not in the blood. The marker in his glove box was the same brand, but not an exact match. And that name on the wall and his name, that was the only truly direct link to him. The only thing that screamed motive, emotion, rage, and it was written perfectly centered clear, as if the killer wanted it to be seen. Like he wasn't trying to hide anything, but rather performing for someone. I started to feel sick. I looked through Sarah Dempsey's contact list again. She'd kept meticulous notes on her phone, a digital diary. We'd skimmed it before, but I wanted to see it with fresh eyes. There was something in there I'd missed, a name, Jason Dempsey, her older brother. At the time, we'd interviewed him once via phone. He was living in California. His plane ticket showed he'd left Colorado 2 days before the murders. That was enough of an alibi back then. But when I dug into the records again, something didn't add up. The ticket was booked in Sarah's name, not his, paid with her card. Why would she buy her brother a flight, especially since, according to her messages, they hadn't spoken in months? My stomach dropped again. I searched for traffic cam footage, toll booth logs, anything that might place Jason back in Colorado around the time of the murder. It took days and most of it was blurry, useless junk. But then I found it. A single security cam from a gas station off I-70, time-stamped the night before the murders. A black SUV, Colorado plates. The man at the pump had a baseball cap pulled low. But when he turned toward the camera, even in that grainy footage, I recognized the face. Jason Dempsey. I froze. The file said he was 1,000 miles away. But here he was, 6 hours from Sarah's house, less than 24 hours before her death. I called in a favor. A friend at DMV tracked down the SUV. It was registered to a rental company, rented out in Denver under a fake name, but paid for with Sarah's credit card. Again. That was it. He'd come back, quietly, used her own account to cover his tracks. He knew no one would question a grieving brother visiting for a few days, especially if he vanished again just as quickly. I filed an unofficial report and took the weekend to drive to California. I told myself I just wanted to talk, maybe rattle him, see his reaction, but really, I needed to see him in the flesh, needed to know if that feeling in my chest, that weight, was real. Jason opened the door like he'd been expecting me. He looked different, older, colder. His eyes scanned me like I was some sales rep at the door. Then he smiled. "You're late," he said. He knew. I don't remember what I said next. Something about the case, about Sarah, about Elliot. None of it mattered. He never admitted anything, never confirmed or denied. He just kept smiling. "You always look for monsters under the bed," he said quietly. "But you never check the ones who tuck you in." I left. There was nothing I could arrest him for. No confession, no murder weapon, no DNA. Just a suspicion that burned so hot in my chest I couldn't breathe. A week later, I got another envelope. Birthday card number 3. Inside it said, "We both put an innocent man in a cage. Happy birthday, partner." That card is still in my wallet, folded, faded. And every year since, on the same day, a new one arrives. He knows where I live. He knows where I sleep. And worst of all, he knows that I know the truth. But I can't prove it. Not yet. And he enjoys that. Because this isn't just a game to him. It's a punishment, a shared sentence, and I serve it, one birthday at a time. I started sleeping with a gun on my nightstand. I wasn't paranoid, not in the way most people think. I didn't believe Jason would break into my house or try to kill me in my sleep. That wasn't his style. He didn't want to destroy me quickly. He wanted to rot me from the inside like acid on the bones, and it was working. Each year the birthday card came. Each one with a new message, short and cutting, just enough to remind me he was watching, and that I couldn't do anything about it. The 4th one said, "Elliot cried for his mom." Did you? That one kept me up for weeks. I remembered Elliot's face in the holding cell, pale, sweating, shaking, asking for a lawyer that never came. I remembered how I didn't believe a single word he said. Not because I had proof, but because I wanted him to be the killer. I needed him to be. He fit the story I had already written in my head. And then the 5th year came. No card. I waited all day, checked the mailbox a dozen times, nothing. For a moment I felt relief. Maybe it was over. Maybe he had moved on. Maybe he'd finally gotten bored. But that night I found something far worse. My front door was unlocked, so I was sure I'd locked it. I always lock it. I triple check every night. But somehow that night I found it slightly open, maybe 2 inches. No signs of forced entry, no scratches. Just gently ajar, like someone had pushed it open and changed their mind. I searched the whole house room by room, gun in hand, heart pounding so loud I thought I'd pass out. Nothing was missing. Nothing was broken. No windows opened. It was all untouched, and yet the air felt different. Heavy, thick, like someone had just left, and I'd missed them by seconds. On the kitchen counter, sitting where I usually put my keys, was a folded piece of paper. Not a card, just a torn page from a notebook. It said, "I could have ended it tonight, but what fun would that be?" Underneath it in pen was a drawing, a crude, shaky sketch of 2 stick figures. One was in a cage, the other was outside holding the key. I sat on the floor and stared at it for an hour. I didn't sleep for 3 days after that. I kept the lights on, called in sick from work, didn't leave the house except to go sit in my car and scream into the steering wheel. I started questioning everyone, neighbors, colleagues, even my parents, anyone who might have known something. But the truth is, Jason didn't need help. He was too smart, too careful. He'd built a prison around me using nothing but paper and ink. And it was tighter than any cell I'd ever locked someone into. Eventually, I went back to work. Not because I was ready, but because staying home felt even worse. I needed distraction, noise, movement. I threw myself into cold cases, files no one wanted, murders long forgotten. I read them like scripture, hoping I'd stumble onto something, anything to take the focus off myself. But no matter how many bodies I studied, none of them haunted me like Elliot. He'd been in prison for over 5 years now. I tried visiting once, brought a recorder. I planned to apologize, to tell him I believed him now. But when I saw him through the glass, I froze. He looked thinner, older. His eyes were dull, like the life had been vacuumed out. He lifted the phone slowly, and before I could speak, he said, "Took you long enough." I asked him if he knew who framed him. He just smiled and whispered, "Does it matter now?" I left after 5 minutes. Couldn't look at him anymore. I wrote a report, compiled everything I had on Jason, the gas station footage, the car rental, the credit card traces, and sent it anonymously to an independent lawyer group that specializes in wrongful convictions. I couldn't risk putting my name on it. Jason knew too much. He could ruin me. But I had to do something. They reopened the file 6 months later. It made the news. A few articles, quiet whispers in legal forums. They started asking questions, digging into the evidence. And then it stopped, vanished. The momentum died. The 6th year passed. No card, no break-in, no messages, just silence. Until the 7th. This time, the envelope was red. Inside was a photo, me sleeping, taken from the foot of my bed. Underneath it, one line written in red ink, "I forgive you." I vomited in the sink. There's something terrifying about mercy from a monster. It's not kindness. It's control. It's power. And the worst part? I knew what that message meant. He didn't forgive me because I'd done the right thing. He forgave me because I'd finally become like him. Paralyzed, obsessed, hollow. I quit the force a month later. Sold the house. Moved 3 states away. New name, new job. No one knows who I was. I work night shifts at a warehouse, no badge. No office, no gun. Just boxes and silence. But it's not over. Each year the card still finds me. Different address, different name. But he always knows. Last one I got said, "Only 2 cages left. Yours or mine." I don't know what it means. I don't know how long I have, but I wake up every night expecting to see him standing in the doorway. Not to kill me, not to end it. Just to watch. And maybe if he's bored enough to switch places. Because here's the truth. No one tells you when you become a cop. You think you're hunting monsters, but sometimes you're just dragging them behind you. And if you're not careful, they learn how to walk in your shadow. And eventually you forget who was chasing who.